Good afternoon. It is December 11th, 2023. You're listening to a Little Column A, Little Column B, hosted by Will Levinos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How are we doing today, buddy?
What's going on, Will? The Patriots won, and they scored. They scored over 20 points. It was so many points. I was having trouble keeping up. I haven't had to count all the touchdowns and all the points in a while. Bailey Zappi looked like he was legit in that first half. I know we're tanking and you're supposed to want to lose, but man, when you win, it's just so much more fun than just taking the L.
I didn't watch a single second of the game. You bugged me about it all night, keeping me updated with the score, and I refused to buy in because I didn't want the disappointment of it, as well as I knew it wasn't going to be rewarded by what I assumed would be a good game. It actually turned out to be somewhat tight of a game. I'm not. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to be excited about this? This is the trap that a whole bunch of teams have fallen into, where they have a quarterback who has success towards the end of the year, and they feel like, oh, this will be our guy. Imagine how much better he'll be next year with a whole offseason and a new coaching staff and another year under his belt and blah, blah, blah. I am sorry, I'm not buying into the joy of victory. It is nice that the Patriots won. It is nice that I picked them and was able to get a win out of that. But that's where it ends. There's no other joy to this at all. This is a miserable game with miserable offenses that just happened to happen on a Thursday night while there were so many other things going on. I'll take the win, but what do we take away? Is Zappy our guy? Is that what we're supposed to be doing? Should I order you a jersey?
Oh no, we still need a quarterback, but it's way more fun to win than to lose, especially in a game that I thought that we weren't really even going to be competitive in. We haven't scored a touchdown in games. We haven't scored over 10 points in games. So just to put up some stats was just nice to see. Like how a competent football team is supposed to operate, and especially against the team that they actually wanted to win. They were at home, had the backup in, and even had to go even farther down the path there because they were having trouble. But I think it's just a nice little surprise. We don't have to make everything about, hey, how is this going to impact us for the next decade? It's just like, no, you know what? Going into the weekend, it was just nice to start with a win.
I think I know it is going to drastically affect us for the next decade because we had positioned ourselves, which I wasn't thrilled about. Like I'm still for a winning culture. I don't want the tanking thing to really get promoted too loud. But at this point, like we have naturally tanked already. Like let's just let it happen. We were very close to getting a high draft pick of which could change and alter the next 10 years. So when you say I don't want to do that, it's like, well, we got to be careful. Every game now that we win really could alter our next 10 years. Because we don't have a quarterback, and then this offensive bug that we've had where we don't score touchdowns, it's going across the league. We are not the only team having this problem, and Pittsburgh, as you mentioned, has just as many problems as we do. But it's nice to have touchdowns. I will applaud you on that. That was fun to say. Hey, New England Patriots scored multiple touchdowns tonight because that has not happened a whole lot this game, and I don't know if it's going to happen a whole lot going forward. We'll get to our picks with New England. For now, let's just kick off this past week. I had some success the previous week. I'm catching up a little bit. I took some chances. I don't know how else to really state it other than I took some chances because that's kind of what it's going to take to come back when there's only one of two options here. And if I kind of have to go against you to obviously catch up. So we made up some ground. Are you a little worried that I basically cut your lead in half in 1 week?
I'm not concerned. It was just a matter of time before I was on a hot streak. And it cooled off, but I still have a pretty substantial lead, and I just gotta keep it together. You made some swings and they went in your favor, but I think I just I can't let you rattle me and also try to go crazy. Just stick with the path. The past month it's been going well. Just last week was just not as good as I have been doing. So I'm gonna stick with what I'm doing, and I think I'll be in the driver's seat to win this.
I think this week is a gauntlet of traps. I think even the more obvious choices aren't nearly as obvious as you want them to be, and there's a ton of 50-50 calls based on just what happened the past week or whatever your current opinion is. We've had obviously a long enough sample size of all of these teams to have a pretty good idea of what they are, but on a week-to-week basis, this is challenging. All right, kicking it off on Thursday here, we have the Los Angeles Chargers at the Las Vegas Raiders. Josh Jacobs looks like he is going to be out with a knee injury Samir White, that's the running back you want to pick up this week because the Chargers defense is just not good. As well as they had their own injury. This guy was it Herbert, something Hebert, the quarterback,
Herbert, yeah.
the quarterback for the Chargers. He broke his finger, as if the season from hell couldn't get any worse. Doesn't look like he's going to be playing going forward. They did not win this past week. They lost to the Denver Broncos, who remain hot. And while the Raiders didn't win, they also didn't score. They only lost by 3 to Minnesota. So I don't know whether you want to look at that as a bright side or not, whether you held them to only 3. That was a miserable game of which the entire broadcast is talking about how, well, we've never had a 0-0 tie. How boring of a broadcast does it have to be if that is like the main pitch of the whole
Excitement.
game? The whole game is that, hey, we've never had a 0-0. Just hold on to your seats, folks. Like, oh, man. I say that because one of these teams has to win this week. And I'm telling you how their last 2 weeks went, and I'm telling you what the injuries are going forward. I don't know what the argument is towards either team. You historically have gone against the Chargers. We're just going against the Chargers. I'm very curious to see if you're going to go against them this week with the Raiders. I'm going to stick with the Chargers. I don't have a very good argument for why. I just felt like they got a little bit more of an offensive rhythm with whoever their backup was by the end of the game. Wasn't a great handoff, but I think with the whole week, he'll have at least some success. I mean, the Raiders didn't score last week, and Minnesota was hardly even good. How could you pick the Raiders? But go ahead, impress me right now. I'm going with the Chargers. Who you got?
This is easy. The Chargers are playing against a different team. You pick the other team. I'm going with the Raiders. The Raiders are at home. Oh, boy. Just every week another quarterback goes down. It's not like Herbert has been lighting the world on fire, but he's at least, maybe in the, the average to, potential above average category. And now we're going to his backup. Do you know the name of the backup for the Chargers who came in?
No, I'm already trying to forget the starter's name. Why would I know the backup's name?
His name is Easton Stick. Now, I don't know if they still are around, but when I was a kid, I had a hockey stick, and the name brand was Easton. So it's like this seems like something you would make up. This doesn't sound like a real player. And then you have the Raiders are going with Aiden O'Connell. It's not even like at the beginning of the year I wouldn't have known these guys. A month ago, I'd never heard of these guys. And I'm looking through, but we are just getting so many injuries at the quarterback level. And Dobbs had his run, but I think we're kind of seeing there's a reason these guys are backups and they're not starters. Just because we only see these guys when they get to play, very small sample size. The coaches are actually watching them at practice, and there's a reason that they're not getting more time. It's because they're not as good as the starters. So this is only going to continue to have these games be rougher. I just want to correct one thing. There have been 0-0 ties previously, but the last one was during World War II. So there's been quite an amount of time. This was the latest a team had scored to avoid a tie. I'm going to call it the modern era. So it would have been so ugly. And I'm glad that there were some points. I think a lot of people were rooting for the tie, but I think that would not have been great. So just end the game. End the game. Make it over.
All right, so you're so anti-Chargers that you're going with the team that didn't score last week and lost a game 3-0. What do you think
Correct.
the score of this game will be? On Thursday, by the way. This is just to mix it up even more. This is going to be a Thursday game. Everyone's coming off a short week. Good luck.
Raiders 16, Chargers 6.
And yeah, I'm not. I hopefully there's some basketball on that game. We'll maybe watch some college. All right, moving along to the next game. We got some Saturday games. None of that college amateur stuff anymore. Time to watch some real amateurs in the professional level here with the Minnesota Vikings at the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, just a story of wins. They won 3-0 Minnesota. I'm not sure if that's momentum. I'm not sure if this is the reason to buy back into Dobbs or move on to Mullins or do whatever they need to do. But they did get the win. And at this point, they're 7-6, and so is Cincinnati. And if you're Cincinnati, I actually thought Brownings looked pretty good at the quarterback position. He has just as many weapons as Burrow had. I mean, I don't think he'll ever be quite as good as Burrow, but this isn't the worst team that he's taking over here. And I kind of like what he's doing. So I'm going to go with Cincinnati at home. Again, it's really hard to pick anything positive. I don't know how you managed to pick the Raiders after what I saw last week. And it's the same thing with Minnesota. That's not a win you get to brag about or you're going to be telling everyone else about. It is one of your 7, which is impressive, and I think their season's not over yet. I still think Minnesota could still make some noise here We're going to get to Detroit eventually, but I'm riding with Cincinnati this week, and let's see what Jake Browning's got. One more week. Who you got?
I'm also going with the Bengals. I liked what Browning was doing. He was out there, couple of touchdowns. Didn't look absolutely terrible, and you know got the win against the Colts in kind of dominant fashion. And the Colts have they've beat some teams, so they've had their backup for a while, but at this point, Minshew is the guy. So I think I think I probably picked the Colts going into it, thinking, hey, they're bringing in a backup. How could this possibly work? But yeah, they were in good shape, and I agree with what you're saying that they have they have the weapons. They have Mixon. They got the wide receivers. So as long as he can just be competent and not make big mistakes, I think that they should be able to beat the Vikings because it. It sure looks like the Dobbs era is over. So once again, if you're going from backup you traded for a new backup, yeesh, maybe, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Bengals.
Yeah, I think we've been a little too hard on Dobbs, and maybe that it was the trading. They traded an asset basically for him, but you traded for a backup, and you didn't give him an off season, a play. Like there's just, I don't know if I would sell Dobbs this quickly. I'm not entirely shocked that it's not working out immediately right now, and I don't even know if he should be the guy they use going forward, but I just wouldn't sell him short. I think we have seen enough with him. Just look at the circumstances he'd walked into in both situations. It's not great. I think if you give it a little bit more time, there might still be something there. All right, moving on. Another Saturday game: Pittsburgh Steelers at the Indianapolis Colts. Pittsburgh lost to New England last week. You want to be anti-Chargers? I'm anti anyone who loses to the Patriots. Like I'm out on Pittsburgh. Indianapolis struggled against, I think, was a decent team and a pretty good showing in Browning and the Bengals this past week. So I'm going with Indianapolis at home. I think they'll bounce back. I just feel like I could trust them so much more than Pittsburgh, who wins every close game, but they lost one to the Patriots. That makes no sense to me. But that's the 7-6 Pittsburgh Steelers who are visiting the 7-6 Indianapolis Colts. It is amazing to me that these records of these teams. I can't believe these teams have as many wins as they do. I mean, I understand someone has to win every week, but I can't believe these teams have 7 wins. I'm going with Indy. Who you got?
I am also going with Indy. I think that Indy should be able to handle this. Being at home, Pittsburgh did not look good. Anytime your team or your fans are clamoring for you to put Mason Rudolph in, it means the guy you're starting is just having a rough day, and that is what Mitch Trubisky did. Just a little nugget to throw in here. You were mentioning before about how, what pick we have and, you number 1 versus number 2. Mitch Trubisky was drafted number 2. So I'd be careful on thinking, hey, if we lose all these games and it's miserable, we're going to draft the savior. That doesn't always work out that way. So yeah, I don't think whether it's Mitch or Mason Rudolph that they're going to be able to get any traction. So yeah, give me the mustache.
All right. Next Saturday game, Denver Broncos at the Detroit Lions. I think it's officially time to hit the panic button in Detroit. This is not going in the right direction, and I don't think there's a whole lot they can do to stop it. And I think the buzzsaw is going to continue, and that they're going to run into the Denver Broncos, who are also 7-6. They won last week against the very unimpressive Chargers, but I think they can win this game. I think Detroit has a ton of flaws defensively. I'm not sure what do they have going for them at this point? They just got pretty much embarrassed by the Chicago Bears this past week. What is there to like about Detroit, and why would you pick them this week? I'll take Denver on the road. Who you got?
I'm going with the Lions. Never too high, never too low. I think they're just having trouble staying focused, but when they do lock in, like that first quarter against the Saints, so I think against the Broncos at home, I think they realize if they don't get their act together, they're not going to make the playoffs, and this start to the year that was really good for them is just going to be for naught. So I think they're going to get their act together, they're going to focus, and they're going to get a win this week.
The lack of focus is it's almost like they should have known the Bears were coming in, because honestly the Bears should have beat them a couple weeks ago. They should have had that. They should have gotten swept by the Bears. They're lucky that it was only one, so they should have been ready for this week, knowing that they just got lucky, they got by, and they still. The lack of focus, and they just didn't feel like they took it seriously. But panic time. I'm very worried about Detroit. That is a sinking ship right now. I was high on them earlier. I thought the offense looked pretty steady, and I just thought they would outscore certain teams. I never imagined that a team like Chicago would be able to outscore them. I just thought with the weapons that they have and just kind of the offense they've had the whole year, it just would have worked a whole lot better. All right, moving on. What do we got? Sunday games now. Yep, first Sunday game here. Chicago Bears at the Cleveland Browns. Bears got to win. Here we go. 5-8. There's still a chance here. I kind of liked what I saw last week right here with Fields. I know there's a whole lot of drama what the future holds for him, and that it feels like it's crunch time for him. They're 5-8. They have a chance. I don't think there should be expectations on them getting in, but I do think that they can win and steal some games and really play some spoilers here. I don't think they're going to get it done this week, though. I think Joe Flacco's got just enough in him. That there's something about the maturity of Flacco that I wish he might have had maybe a couple years ago, and he still would have been in the league. It was just good enough, and I think he'll be just good enough to defeat the Bears here. I'm buying into Cleveland a little bit more and trusting them a little bit more than Detroit. I think you can make all the same arguments, but I'm buying into old man Flacco over whatever the Bears are. Who you got?
I'm also going with the Bears. Not with the Bears. I'm going with the Browns. I like what Flacco's been doing, and I think it's just the Bears won last week. This seems like a prime spot for, hey, yeah, could make the playoffs if everything goes our way, and just got a big win. But I think that they're an up and down team, so don't fall in love with an up and down team, especially when they're up. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Browns.
All right, next game: Atlanta Falcons at the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers have 1 win. Atlanta has 6 wins. I'll go with Atlanta on the road. Who you got?
I'm going with Atlanta. They are just continually struggling, but the Panthers are in tank mode. So once again, the Falcons are, I feel like almost every other week, are just handed teams. That's like, hey, just play like a decent game and you can get the W. And they just slap your hand away and say, no. So this one, I think even they're not going to be able to bumble this one.
What's the score of this game?
24-14.
Oh, that's not bad. That's a way better game than I thought it would be. All right, this next game, I think is going to be one of the bigger games of the week, and it's not going to be attractive. It's not going to be appealing, but I think the winner of this game, their entire season is like altered, and that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers will play Monday Night Football tonight at the New York Giants, so a little bit of unfinished business for their past week here. But going forward, they're 6-6. They'll be facing the 6-7 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who just got a win against the Atlanta Falcons, who are the most unpredictable team. I think I've gotten every Atlanta pick wrong every week. Like that's just continuous. And I was impressed with Tampa Bay. I think we all kind of like Baker. I think that Evans and Godwin over there are excellent receivers. And they're just weapons that you just have to find a way to use them, and then they're finding ways. I thought Rashad White's had some pretty good weeks here. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay, but if Green Bay comes out firing tonight, and I totally expect them to almost embarrass the Giants, which isn't going to be hard to do. I could be altered. I could really adjust to this, but right now I'm feeling Tampa based on what I just saw from Baker yesterday, and I think there's a little bit more urgency and a little bit more capability with that. I'm still not trusting and kind of in denial on Jordan Love, despite him really not giving me a whole lot to knock on him the past weeks. But who you got?
I'm going with Jordan Love, going with the Packers. Sight unseen tonight, win or lose. I'm sticking with them. I think that they'll be able to beat the Buccaneers. I like what Love has been doing. I think he's kind of building, and I think that he's going to continue, and that he could turn into something that is more of a long-term play, where I think coming into the year it was still kind of shaky. It's not 100%, but I think it's headed in the right direction. Speaking of them playing tonight, why do we have 2 Monday night games tonight?
No idea. We can get into some.
I will ask you.
Why are they at the same time?
Question. Why are they at the exact same time? I get at the beginning of the year they did some of the Monday night, and they wanted to do they wanted to give it some of it to ABC, and ESPN wanted to do it with ESPN Plus, but they still want to keep their normal ESPN games. So it's like, okay, you're gonna have 2 games. I prefer just to have the one. But okay, if you're gonna do 2, it's football. Fine, I'm gonna watch it. But I just don't get. You put them on at the same time. People want to watch all the football, but if you and I are in this teeny tiny percentage of people that have multiple screens, so can actually watch these at the same time. But most people, you can only put one on. It's like you couldn't even offset it a half an hour or 45 minutes. So at least when one's at halftime, you could switch the other game. It's like, no, these are both going to be at the 2 minute warning pretty much at the same time. They're going to be at halftime at pretty much at the same time. And I mean, you want good games, but if they're both good games going down the stretch, you're going to miss one. And it just, I don't understand.
I was going to save all this, but this is pretty related to the NBA's current week scheduling with the in-season tournament and all that, and having a complete day off of no basketball when later in the season, not even far down the road in the season, they're going to have teams playing back-to-backs or 3 games before, like all that stuff's going to start happening. And here we just had basically a tournament day, a championship tournament day where only 2 teams played, and it didn't count towards either of their records, and none of the other teams played, followed by an entire day where none of the teams played again. Like I don't understand the reasoning for all that, and
now there's 13 games tonight.
And I want to say the reason that they did do the days and the scheduling of all that, where they had both the games in Vegas, so you were using the same court, so that's why the one game was really earlier in the semis, and the other one after it was when it was after. But they were scared to go against football, is really the reality of it, because of the scheduling going out. They didn't want to go on Sunday. What's funny to me is that there are other teams and other sports and other programming just across the whole world of whatever media you're into that doesn't want to go against football. Yet football will go against football. Because why? I don't know. Like that seems crazy to me that they would put these 2 games on at the same time and then tell everyone
at the exact same time.
And then tell everyone you have to watch all these, and there's no real good way to it. There's no red zone tonight. They gave us that channel because all of the games are on at 1:00 and all the games are at 4:00 on Sunday, and that we needed a channel to show us everything else that was going on. This is a step backwards. I'm not sure who's getting the advantage of the scheduling out of all this. If that's why it fell into this, that I don't know. I don't know who's benefiting from all this.
It's one of the best modern scheduling is the NCAA tournament staggering their starts. I think they started like past 5 to 10 years. It used to be pretty much like just like football. Like everything starts, was at 12 or 12:30, and you had 4 games, and then in 2.5 hours, you had 4 more games starting, and then they said, hey, what would be cool is if you could watch all of the endings. So it just seems like such an easy fix. I'm not saying that you have to have one at 4:00 where people are still, at work, and then the other one starts afterwards. I'm just saying just offset it at least a half an hour, if not an hour. I think a 7:15 and an 8:15 start, I think that would have been fine. Especially, I don't know if we're in standard leagues or not, but this is the last regular season for fantasy. So there's a bunch of people that extra want to watch both of these games because they probably have players in the different games to find out if they're going to the fantasy playoffs or not.
Do you know what channels the games will be on tonight? Are they even accessible?
Yes. Yeah. So it's standard ESPN Monday night, and then the other one is a split between if you could watch it either on ABC or on ESPN Plus.
Oh, all right. Yeah. No, that's best case scenario. At least you get 2 basic channels of ABC and ESPN, and not exclusively on Prime or Plus
NFL Network.
or Network or nothing like that. Well, I mean, I feel like I could continue on with the scheduling thing because you talk about scheduling in the same time. How about these games actually happening on time in the NBA? Well, I'll save that. I know you got to take on all that. We'll get to basketball eventually, but I'm warming you up already. Which is, know what grinds my gears? Let's
I'll let you know.
Let's get through this. Houston Texans at the Tennessee Titans. The Texans this past week lost to the New York Jets and lost to Zach Wilson, who is back and looked as good as ever in a 30-6 victory. CJ Stroud does not look like he's going to be playing going forward, at least for this week. I don't have a whole lot of things to say about Tennessee with them playing Monday Night Football tonight at the Miami Dolphins, but not the sexiest 4-8 team. And I was really into Houston, and losing Tank Dell I thought was huge the past week. And I picked a team. I made an argument earlier that I could pick a team that lost to the Patriots. I don't think I could pick a team that lost to the Jets. I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans. I don't feel great about it, especially they're probably going to get destroyed by Miami tonight and make even less of an argument for themselves. But I don't like what I saw out of Houston this past week. And if they're going to play like that, they're not going to beat Tennessee. I'll take Tennessee at home. Who you got?
Give me Tennessee at home. No C.J. Stroud. I don't like it. Yeah, just give me the Titans.
Next game, New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins hosting Monday Night Football tonight to the Tennessee Titans. I don't. Yeah, I'll take Miami. I mean, the Jets. Zach Wilson looked great. It would be an awesome win for them if he was able to just knock off Miami. And then I don't even know what his future is. Like, is he playing for another job? He's not playing for this job. I'll take Miami at home. I'm just fascinated by the Zach Wilson thing. What do you think that has for a future?
I think he's just a backup. I think that's gonna be his role as a backup somewhere.
A lot of them got to play this year, so you got to really choose these backups wisely. I imagine going forward. This seems like every team in the league should have been ready to play a backup at this point of the year. Like there's probably like 4 teams in the league that haven't had someone else at least take a snap, whether it was a concussion, an injury, a suspension,
poor play.
Poor play, plenty of that. All right. Anyways, we both got Miami in that one, right? Moving on.
That's my lock of the week.
Lock it in. Next game, New York Giants at the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans was able to defeat Carolina. Nothing super crazy about that. The Giants are probably going to be an interesting game against the Packers. I don't think that they'll win. They're at 4-8 at this point in the season. New Orleans, everything's still up in their own control to some degree. All right, they're 6-7. They can still win the division. It's nothing to brag about, but it's very much a possibility in their grasp. I don't know if Carr is the one to do it. I'm not entirely sure why they keep going forward with him and what's so bad about Jameis, as well as why they're stuck with both of these options and they don't like either of them. That seems even more frustrating. But I'll take New Orleans just reluctantly. Who you got?
I'm going with the Saints. I don't trust the Giants at all. I don't know how many ribs Derek Carr has got broken right now, but I think that he's gonna continue to just persevere. So yeah, give me the Saints.
Next game, Kansas City Chiefs at the New England Patriots. Chiefs coming off a loss to the Buffalo Bills, of which there was an incredible game-winning play potential that was then called back for a offensive wide receiver offsides, of which everybody seems to be upset about. And I understand how simple and easy of a rule it is to ignore, and that there are rules constantly throughout an NFL game of how many times do you want to call holding? You can call it every play if you really want to do. You could really do it. But I just thought this was so guilty that you can't even argue it. Like, he's clearly offsides. It's a very, very, very easy thing to not do, and he just panicked in a big critical moment. I think it's a lot more of the receiver not being cautious and losing focus at one of the most important times. I feel so shorted on how awesome the play made me feel to then just reel it all back was like, because I got real excited for it. It was an incredible lateral. It came out of nowhere. There's no way any coach ever told Kelsey to do that. He just did it, and it worked. I'm just. What are your thoughts on it? Like, I was shocked at the complaining after.
I don't even know if you can. I mean, yes, it was a lateral. But when I think of a lateral, I think of little underhand, little short pass, 5 yards max. He tossed it. Like, it was an overhand throw, backwards legal and everything. And that's the thing too with this specific play of clearly offsides. All right, yep, that gets called. But the thing too is you're getting the penalty. You're not even gaining an advantage. When it's a long run and there's a hold, it's like, okay, well, if you didn't hold, the guy would have made the tackle. The play doesn't happen. Where this, if he is the 6 inches back to be onsides, he still makes the play. Like, he didn't really gain advantage being right there. It just, like, how do you line up offsides? It's one of, like, the simplest things. You learn it right early on. And as a wide receiver, when you're on the outside, you can look at the referee, and usually the referee will help you. Now, the Chiefs fans are all saying, oh, he looked at the ref, and, ref said he was good, and I don't think that happened. But it's not on the ref to tell him, like, if he's offsides, to yell at him, to be like, hey, you got to get back, you got to get back. It's only as, like, a confirmation. If you look over, usually you can, you could see where he's standing, and that's kind of part of it, too, because the judge there stands right on the line. So you could see, if I'm, like, looking not at least a little bit ahead of me to see him, then I'm offsides. And you line up like that, like every play you line up. So I don't know why he didn't confirm it with the with the referee, but it was a cool play, but I was glad that on replay that it was very clear. It wasn't a incorrect call by the officials. It was the correct call. And just I feel like the wide receivers are just continually losing the Chiefs games in a variety of ways now.
This was an unbelievable way to lose this game because it was an unbelievable way to win the game. It was like Buffalo needed this win more than them, and they might have got the Chiefs at a good week. And I think you could make an argument the Patriots are getting the Chiefs at a good week right now too. You know that was just disheartening. I felt all of the energy just get deflated out of the whole team after that. And then I understand how simple it feels. It feels like a lane violation for a free throw in basketball, which they almost never call, and they could call every single time. But at the same time, it's also a really easy rule to not break, with no advantage of doing, like you said. It's crazy. But unfortunately, the Patriots are facing them this week, and they'll reward the Chiefs. I'll take the Chiefs on the road. I mean, what are we going to win streak here for the Patriots? What are you thinking?
I don't see a path on how we can continue to score enough points. We had our little outburst last week, but I think that the Chiefs, even with them making the mistakes, their margin of error against us is pretty big. So they can make some of those mistakes that they couldn't against the Bills, and they'll get away with it. So there's a real reason that they flex this for the first time out of Monday night on into just the general mix of 1 p.m. games. So that'll be nice and hidden from everybody else.
I didn't even want to bring it up. Do you want to explain exactly what that means? That a Patrick Mahomes game was rescheduled?
Not just a Patrick Mahomes game, a Taylor Swift game. It's possible that Taylor Swift was going to be at Gillette. She performed at Gillette over the summer, knows where it is, and they said, no, the Patriots are so bad. This is going to be such a terrible game that we don't want Patrick Mahomes. We don't want Kelsey. We don't want Taylor Swift on Monday Night Football. We would like anything else. Kind of surprised by that because if it is a terrible game, there's going to be more downtime. You could spend more time showing Taylor Swift, which seems to be what they want to do. And they said, nope, not worth it. No, we don't think people will watch.
They're not wrong. I'm a Patriot fan, and I don't think I'm going to really be watching. Or at least I'll be watching for Taylor a hell of a lot more than for anything from the Patriots. Moving on, Washington Commanders at the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are a sneaky team. I like a lot of the things they do. It was a tough-fought loss against Baltimore in overtime, which just ends in an explosion of a kickoff. That was just a ton of energy and really fun to see live. I think they easily could have won the game, though. I think that the Rams haven't had the most success this year. Their offense at times feels like it's very one-dimensional with Puka, but I saw Kupp catch a couple touchdowns this week and last week. I think they're onto something with Kyren Williams being healthy. I wouldn't want to face this team going forward. I think this is a very sneaky and dangerous team. I don't think they'll have any problems against the Washington Commanders. I will take the Los Angeles Rams and lock it in this week. Who you got?
I will also be going with the Rams. I think Aaron Donald is going to feast on the Washington QB. Whoever they throw out there, it does not matter. That guy's in trouble.
All right, speaking of trouble, next game, San Francisco 49ers at the Arizona Cardinals. Niners look great. Whoever they're facing is in trouble. This Arizona team's in a lot of trouble. I'll take the Niners. Who you got?
I'm also going with the Niners. They just look like head and shoulders above the other teams right now. So I see no way that the Cardinals are going to sneak up on them.
A lot of offensive sophistication going on there. Just a lot of dominance. All right, next game, Baltimore Ravens at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tight game for Baltimore this past week, winning in overtime, but they got the job done. They seem to always kind of find a way to do that. I think that Jacksonville, I didn't think Lawrence was going to play this week. I assumed that I just didn't think it was going to work. All right. And then he played and they had a chance to win. And that seems just crazy to me. I think that's just a ticking time bomb for that to go wrong. I'm going to take Baltimore. How are you picking Jacksonville? Go ahead. Explain that to me how you would, because I don't know how I would. I'll take Baltimore. Who you got?
I'm also going with the Ravens. Was super surprised that Trevor Lawrence got cleared to play. It was less than a week ago that he was hobbling off and was super weird that he didn't have a cart. And then we found out afterwards that he said he didn't want a cart. And then that seemed like prime opportunity for some trainer to say, hey, this isn't a you decision. This is a, about the team. You have to take a cart. You can't be walking on a bad ankle. This is not a, let's show how tough we are. Everybody gets in the cart when they're hurt. Like, you were hurt. So very surprised that he was going to play. But yes, I'm going with the Ravens. I like what Lamar's doing. Odell is looking awfully quick out there. So yes, I will take the Ravens on the road, even with Trevor Lawrence playing.
I can't believe play. I didn't think. I'm not saying I didn't think it was tough, but I saw the ankle, like the whole leg, like bends the wrong way. The game, like last week, it wasn't that long ago. And then I assumed that even if he was out there, I was like, he's not going to have any mobility. He's just going to get drilled. And Cleveland has a decent pass rush when they want to, and I didn't think he would survive it. And not only did he survive it, he played good enough to win that game. And I think a lot of other teams wish that they had even banged up Trevor Lawrence starting for them this past week. So
yeah,
good for him, good for them, and I wish him luck. But Baltimore's a pretty good team, and I don't think that they're going to be able to push their luck against that. All right, last game, Philadelphia Eagles.
No, you missed one. Dallas Cowboys, Buffalo Bills.
Oh, I wrote him down wrong. That's why. All right, Dallas Cowboys at the Buffalo Bills. I'm going with Dallas. I like what Buffalo did, but I also feel like they could have easily lost to Kansas City. They're very dangerous, Buffalo, but I think Dallas is just in a rhythm at this point that good luck. I think this should be a really good game. I'm excited for it, but I'll take the Cowboys. I think that they're just in a rhythm at this point, depending on your opinion of what you thought of Philly, which I didn't think they were perfect, but I thought they were a pretty good team. And they kind of got stomped by Dallas. So good luck for Buffalo. Who you got?
I'm going with Buffalo. I think, especially after the last win, just a lot of Dallas talk, a lot of Dak for MVP, a lot of Super Bowl talk, and just a lot of the train is getting on the tracks and it's starting to go pretty fast. And the Bills, they've had their struggles this year, but I think when they're in these big games, like we saw against the Chiefs. They still got the weapons, and if they put it all together, they can figure it out. If Josh Allen doesn't do too many stupid things, he just kind of keeps it simple. Just don't do stupid things, Josh. Then you'll be okay. So I think they're that. Also have to remember we are getting deep into December. These Bills games, we could have snow. It's going to get cold coming up from Dallas. That weather is going to be a little bit different than what they're having down there in Texas. So. Give me the Bills practicing in the cold all week, getting all ready for it.
I'll give you this: you're not hitting the 60-yard field goals outdoors in Buffalo. Like that's not happening. But this guy, this kicker for the Dallas Cowboys, who is a rookie kicker. This is his first year in the NFL. It is his second year playing football. He was for what was it, Canadian League last year? It was USFL something. One of the other like alternative leagues, and at least are somewhere far, not too far away, but. He's only had 2 years of being a field goal kicker. He's a soccer player. He was drafted. I think he played club and almost went to the league, blah, 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 all that. But now he's a kicker. And in a game yesterday, he kicked a 60-yarder and a 59-yarder and converted all of them. He hasn't missed a kick all year. Like I just think this is a weapon. We talk about Justin Tucker for Baltimore all the time. And this is a huge weapon to have. Where if you're indoors, I imagine, and down 3, you really don't have to go that far to at least have a chance. I like having that weapon in my back pocket. I hope he continues to do that because I think it's so ballsy of an offense too, especially a good offense to say we're willing to not even go for it. We're willing to have the kicker go for it. It's crazy to me. I don't know. The whole story is wild, but I don't know. I guess you don't really want to talk about soccer though, right?
This is great. This is great. He had the opportunity to play soccer and we stole him away and said, "Hey man, play football. That's way cooler." And so he's like, "All right, cool. I'll do that." Like, I love we can steal more soccer players to play football.
All right, last game. Philadelphia Eagles at the Seattle Seahawks. Despite not having Geno Smith and Drew Lock playing, Seattle actually put up a pretty decent game against a very dominant Niners team. And I think if there was ever a week to catch the Eagles, this might be it. I don't like what Philadelphia's defense has looked like, and I'm curious to see if Seattle could put up enough points to make this a game and maybe even steal this a game. But I just imagine Philly's going to get back on track. They're 10-3. And if Seattle maybe had Geno, I think they'd have a better chance. But I'll take Philly on the road. Who you got?
I am getting crazy. I'm going to go with the Seahawks. just think the Eagles are in a little bit of a spiral right now, and I think that the Seahawks can play real tough. You got the 12th man there, and I think if they are not all the way back, they could have some trouble. They talked a bunch of trash to the 49ers and got spanked, and then I think they talked less trash to the Cowboys, but they got beat down twice on national TV both times. So I think that's sticking in a lot of people's minds. Maybe it's sticking in my mind too much, but this was my kind of get a little crazy. So I'm gonna go with the Seahawks.
I see if they'd had even the slightest bit of success the last couple weeks, I would go with Seattle. I'd be like, oh, they're going to let off the gas a little bit. They just beat Dallas, who everyone thought they were good. It's in the division. They could feel good going into this week. I think that was the wake-up call was the last 2 weeks. All right, they got slapped around. They're alert. They're ready. I think if this was a trap game in some form, that Seattle have a way better chance, but I don't think they're going to be able to do it. But should be an interesting Monday night game, depending on which one of them you watch, because they're going to be on at the same time. But fantasy heroes and zeros. We had some good players.
Just before we go to that, I'm not sure if you noticed, but for the tiebreaker, it's the Monday night game. So since the Monday night game got swapped, that tiebreaker is still the score of the Chiefs Patriots game.
I did not notice that, and I am going to change it immediately because that is not the score. I think Seattle Phillies. I put 56 down for that. I need to change that immediately.
Yes,
the Patriots are going to get 56 in the year.
Yeah, so that's a helpful hit for you and for anybody else listening. That it's normally that last game, so you just lock it in. I just happened to notice that it said, "Wait a minute, that's not the Monday night game anymore." So they did not switch that.
Oh man, good catch.
While you switch that, I can go through your fantasy heroes and your fantasy zeros. Starting with the fantasy zeros, just talked about them. Jalen Hurts, rough day. Wide receivers, we had Gabe Davis. Bills getting the win, but an actual zero from Gabe Davis. That's not good. I just somehow got lucky in my fantasy league, and I had him in the starting lineup, and then in that kind of last minute fantasy tinkering, I took him out. Jamar Chase and Amon-Ra St. Brown. For the fantasy heroes, Lamar Jackson, wide receivers, we have DJ Moore, we have Odell, long fantasy zero, finally back on top, Cooper Kupp, Drake London, Debo. At running back, we have James Cook. We have a Patriot. Whoa, Patriot hero, Zeke. We have Breece Hall on the Jets. Can't imagine that he's been a fantasy hero before. For tight ends, we have David Njoku, Evan Ingram, and then for kickers, the guy that you mentioned, Dallas, Brandon Aubrey, rookie, fantasy hero. I saw a few people tweeting out saying he is a league winner. You have him. He can move the needle for you, not just Dallas in real life, but also on your fantasy team.
In one of my leagues, one of the commissioners, he's kind of tweaked a lot of the points to a customization, and he's always complained every year that they don't let you do decimal points for the field goals. So if you kick a 59-yard field goal, it's still in the 50s, so it only counts as 5 points. He's like, why wouldn't it be worth 5.9? Because it's a hell of a lot closer to 6 than 5. And that's just we need to make some changes. I think
what I don't like either is that if you miss a 59-yard field goal, it's the same as missing a 30-yard field goal. It's still a -1, but the difficulty is completely different. So I am very much on board of the decimal system, as well as I think a lot of them, they just cap out at 5. But if you kick a 60, it should be 6 points.
If maybe we haven't had a guy regularly attempting them, but yeah, I think it easily should be worth. And it shouldn't be worth the same as a 50. They make 50s semi-regularly. I mean, it's not a lock that they do it, but 60s, so desperate and such a long shot that do you think that if the Patriots just went all in on trading that, we'd be better off with this kicker than we would be any of our quarterbacks? Like, at least this guy scores points.
Oof. Well, we do struggle in the red zone, so that would help out with that. But I don't think if you really want to be a good team, you could just go for threes. I mean, we remember that from the glory days. That's how we won. When other teams were going for field goals, we were going for touchdowns.
We don't score nearly enough that I'm just intrigued by building an offense around 3 points. Just something better than 0.
Just hammering them.
All right, moving on here. College basketball season's going on. I don't have a whole lot of good news to report of Michigan State. We get the lucky team of facing Baylor this Saturday. We had a tight game against what was it, Nebraska, Wisconsin. All these games have been decent. We're just not a good offense. I'm really you said the meanest thing last night. I couldn't believe you said it, and it was seconds after a loss of which a game we actually played decent in and had a decent chance of winning. For you to say I can't even believe this team was ranked fourth in the country was like really too soon and way too direct. I swear if I'd said anything remotely close to you about Duke after a loss like that, I don't think I would be friends or we'd talk in the next 24 hours. Like, but this is his act. This is what he does. He just hits you when you're down. Watch out for us at the tournament. We're going to turn this season around. In terms of big games this week, though, I did see, what do we got? UConn Gonzaga on Friday. That's a big one.
Yep.
I don't know a lot about it. Tell me a little bit more.
So two top 10 teams. Gonzaga got beat this past weekend, but they are still a good team. This is not on their campus, but is in Washington. UConn had their only loss so far is at Kansas. They beat UNC at MSG last week, so they are still they're still really good. They just got one of their starters back, so they're a very dangerous team. I hate to say it, but it's very true. And your response should have been when I said that about being number 4 is how was Duke started the season at number 2? Here are 2 top 5 teams that have not lived up to top five standards. And my follow-up question for you is: you said, wait, we're gonna turn this around. Wait for us, in March. When are you turning it around? What's the date?
Oh, when we win the conference tournament at the end, and we get that's the only way we're gonna be able to get in. We're gonna win the.
Okay.
We're gonna win the Big Ten.
All right, so don't even worry about you until March.
Yeah. Don't, and you know what? Don't even worry about us until we at least win out of the first round. We could lose in the first round that first night, and it's like, all right, and Mr. NIT, let's do it. Let's go.
Well, still early December. Still lots of things can happen. So it's definitely a rough start for you, especially with losing a couple of conference games in December. That was definitely unexpected.
And the thing is, I don't even think the team's bad. We have no shooters, and you can't run an offense without shooters. Like, I think we have a lot of nice players that do a lot of other things very well, and defensively we have somehow miracled our way into being in a lot of games. And if we hit a couple shots in a row, it's like, oh, here we go. Like, it's a completely different team. It is a team that looks like they could be ranked within the top 25 of the country when the offense just works. But that is so infrequent, and there's no sign of us suddenly, like, it's a large enough sample size at this point where they just can't shoot. Like, I don't think any of these guys are going to develop into shooters within the season. Like, that just seems ridiculous to have that kind of improvement to happen. But that's what we're praying on. That's what we're hoping on. Are there any other games we should be looking forward to this week? Because I got to get out of Michigan State talk.
Yes. We have a huge game. They're going to overlap a little bit, but real good one. CBS Classic. There's 4 teams. They round robin every year, change it up. But that is going to be UK versus UNC. That's at 5:30. But then the biggest one of the weekend, quite possibly the biggest one of the year so far, is going to be Arizona versus Purdue at a neutral site. That is the number 1 Arizona and number 3 Purdue in the country. Huge clash in December. Purdue's got the one loss where they got upset. Arizona is still undefeated. So, Edie, it seems like it's always these smaller schools that give them trouble, but when they go up against the Power 5 schools, they know exactly what they're doing. They were able to take care of Alabama. It was a little dicey, but they were able to take care of them. But that is at 4:30, and I would say clear your schedule. There's no college football. That's going to be the start of I think the second NFL game. Watch this game over football. This is it. And then that UNC Kentucky game. Both of these offenses very potent this year. Kentucky at one point this year had over 69 points at half. I think UNC has done the same. UNC put 100 points on Tennessee, and Tennessee is regarded as one of the top 5 defenses in the country. So I think you're going to see, you like the NBA, you like scoring. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring in that game.
Purdue's going to lose by at least 20. It
Whoa.
won't even be
Okay.
close. Won't even be close. The game's going to be over by the time Edie gets even over half court. It's going to be such a blowout. And even if it isn't, Purdue couldn't close a locked door, man. These guys cannot win a close game. They got so lucky against Alabama. There's a whole lot of other things that if Alabama was just a little bit more careful with the ball, that they could have had it. And if there was just at least one more whistle, which it was an argumentative call. I was happy they didn't blow the whistle, but they easily could have. And Alabama's way more in striking distance of winning that game than the final score really portrays. I'm just not sold. The offense is great when it goes to Edie. I just don't think that they have enough other guys to do anything else, and they kind of freeze at the end of the game. And Edie can't get the ball to himself in the post. He's not that type of player. He needs the ball in very particular positions to be effective, and he's very effective in those. Like I'm not taking away the talent and the dominance that he has, but I just think this team's so predictable at the end of the game. And if you just take away that one thing, or if he's ever in foul trouble, which is another thing that you can do, because they're not the most sophisticated defense either. I just see tons of vulnerabilities on Purdue. I know the last two games were the ones that they struggled, and they even won the one in Alabama. But the Northwestern game I watched, and that was just a huge wake-up call for the vulnerabilities of that team. I'm not in on them. I think Arizona's a real safe bet against them. And what do I know about college basketball? We'll be seeing that as we follow up into the next week. This was not the only basketball that was played this week. There was a bit of an NBA in-season tournament happening. I don't know if you caught that. And there was a champion and a banner and an MVP. The Los Angeles Lakers defeated the Indiana Pacers 123-109, and LeBron James was awarded the MVP. I know you were bitter about all of this, and we even lost some money, especially Davis cost us some money after having a massive 41-20-5 game. This was a really impressive performance. I thought LeBron was spectacular all tournament, and I could say a whole lot of nice things about him, but that wasn't even the most impressive thing that I saw the entire tournament. I don't think Tyrese Halliburton had a turnover the entire tournament. Like, I don't think he had one on the championship game. I don't think he had one on the conference game. I don't think he had one on the semis before that. Every big game he's been in, every national TV game he's been in, I don't think he's had a turnover. That's incredible for the amount of usage he's having and the amount of times he has the ball. Very, very impressive for Tyrese Halliburton. Wasn't enough to beat the Lakers. Not entirely shocked by this. I'm gonna let you destroy it now. All right, what's wrong with all of this? What did you not like about all of it?
Well, they put the Lakers in clearly the easiest group, so they had a cakewalk. In the playoffs. None of the top West teams were in it. I don't think the Nuggets really cared about it. It was clear that LeBron cared about it a lot. So I think he made an extra effort. It makes sense because this is going to be the future of the NBA. That definitely was popular enough that, and they want to sell this. They want to sell this to somebody. I don't know if it's going to be Amazon or what, but when this rights package comes up, there's going to be a specific or maybe multiple networks that are going to say, "Hey, I want the in-season tournament games." I think it's crazy that I'm seeing people saying we got to do another one of these. After Christmas, we should do another in-season tournament. It's like, guys, settle down. This was the first time they did it. I could easily see this it was pretty competitive this time, maybe a little bit, and then there's just diminishing returns if you do multiple in the same season, and then especially so. I mean, way back in the day, the All-Star game used to be competitive, but then it's like, it's just kind of fun. Doesn't really matter. I think that is a concern. I think that they're going to tweak it. I think they're going to make it even better going forward. But I think that they will they're going to have to make tweaks. I get on Saturday not wanting to have any other games, just kind of standalone. I thought the timing of it was really good, that it was the week after conference championships for football. So the only game that was football-wise that was on was the Army-Navy game. So it's like they were able to own the whole Saturday night, just kind of going against college basketball. And I don't think they're too concerned with that. But no games on Sunday? Like, we kind of already touched on it a little bit, but like, why? Why were there no games yesterday? And because of the tournament, there's been a few times that just like there's just no basketball. It's like, why? Why is there no basketball? I don't know. I think it's just some of it. It's like I should be more mature and adult and say, all right, yeah, there's no basketball. Like I'll just do something else. But I think I still have that like whiplash from COVID. where wait, what do you mean? Why is there no basketball? Like something bad happened. It's like no, it's just the scheduling. But I very much agree with you that 0 games yesterday, 13 games today, and there's going to be all this week. There's going to be a lot of games, and so Anthony Davis was awesome on rest, but now he's going to have to play 3 and 4 nights. Like how many does he sit? And or I mean, I hope he doesn't get hurt, but all right, does he get banged up? And now we're not seeing this level.
I already wanted to bring to the attention of the Lakers schedule going forward because Davis and LeBron James were just so good that I was shocked that they even had that sort of effort this early in the season. I really thought they had to kind of work throughout the season to get in a little bit better shape and kind of turn that switch on to just a competitive playoff mode. But they're going to play the Mavericks tomorrow night, and then following that, they're going to play the San Antonio Spurs, who have yet to still win a game in a really long time. I believe they're on a 16.
Who wins first, the Spurs or the Pistons?
I think
not even looking at schedule, just like just on vibes.
Spurs.
Okay.
Look, they have the number one pick. I just think that's regardless of what Detroit did over the offseason, they didn't get that. So that if you're the Spurs, I'm giving you that. You need to win a game because at least you got that. I'm curious to see if Davis is going to play the following game and if that is actually going to be San Antonio's first win in a really long time. And it's going to be because LeBron and Davis rested after they played the Mavericks, of which they could have easily spaced all of this out. And if they had a second game for other teams on Sunday, like there was a better way, I feel like, to do all of this. I also think that they need to redo the semis, the conference finals for the tournament. I like having it in the same location, but I think they need to have them in 2 locations within Vegas so they can stagger the games rather than have one right after another. I like that they at least gave us the opportunity to see both of them, but the timing of them was just so kind of clunky. Of what, a 5 o'clock and a 9 o'clock start. It's a harder sell when you generally show all of the other games at 7:30 and 10:30, and to pick that game to have it even weirder. It didn't make it feel more special to me. It felt a little bit more odd to me than I think. I think they could change that though. These are all like very fixable things, as well as the point differential for who gets in. I don't know if we need to have more games or a better tiebreaker, but I like the in-season tournament overall. I'm walking away from this thinking this was really fun. What I kind of envisioned in the long term of all this, or at least what I thought this tournament would be like, is I thought this tournament would be over. And then it would be like February. Like we'd be right after this. It's like, all right, playoffs are right around the corner. Like we're right into it. This was so early into the year that we're like 2 weeks out from Christmas right now. And it used to feel like the season didn't really start until after Christmas. I wanted this to take up more time. And now that it's over and it felt kind of short and rushed, I almost wish it was longer or at least lasted a little bit more into the season because there's a ton of games of this regular season still left. Do you have any interest in maybe rescheduling this or extending the schedule or putting it at a different time of year?
I actually have an almost like the opposite look at it. I think it would be difficult with the scheduling, but I would have preferred if rather than it being, hey, you got to remember Tuesdays and Fridays, those are tournament days. If it was just condensed, so it was just all the tournament games were all over a 2 or a 3 week span. And then that way, it's not, okay, is it a Tuesday? All right, so it's Tuesday, so these are in tournament games. It's just like, you just know, it starts, I don't know, November 15th, and then it's done by December 15th, and you just know, in that block, everything is tournament related. And then I think that would, I think I would like that more.
I'm not sure. I haven't exactly figured out the strategy of some of the teams that didn't get into the tournament. Like, how much rest did Denver actually get from that? Like, is that the future Lakers move next year where they're like, cool, we won. They could name the award after LeBron now, whatever. And from here on, we're going to enjoy the week vacation you get if you don't make the tournament. Like, there's definitely games that still happened, but I do think there was an advantage.
I don't think it's like a week's worth because everybody except for the Lakers and the Pacers, they only played 2 games last week.
Yeah, and they did have a lot of rest.
It was a light week for everybody. If you made the championship, you had to play one more game. But even there were no games on Sunday. I'm not sure if I think the Lakers don't play till tomorrow. So 2 days off, that's pretty standard.
All right, well, now that we're back into the regular season and the in-season tournament is over and things are essentially
Yeah,
back.
can we talk about the actual good teams and not these fake good teams in this little mini tournament?
All right. What good teams would you like to talk about? Because don't put Boston in there right now. They lost to the team that we had an opportunity to talk about.
Best team in the East right now. You know where the Pacers are? They're at 5. You know where the Lakers are in the West? 5. There are 8 teams better than these teams.
Not in the tournament. We just had a tournament.
Yeah,
You can't take away the
somehow,
tournament.
Somehow we have the best record and we had to go play at Indiana. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and
but
if we're so good, why do we win? We're so good, why do we win? Number 1 team in the East.
We didn't have Porzingis.
Oh, all right, okay. Well, we would have any more
We were
excuses because I'm sure the other teams had
We
some
were hurt.
injuries.
Name them.
On Indiana.
I think the Pacers messed up getting rid of Tice.
Oh no, I don't. I like that they're kind of small and lanky, and they just have some. I think everyone is so confident to say that we messed up on giving up on Naismith, and I just want to remind everyone that he's a great player. I'm excited for him. Who is he going to play over? Who is Naismith going to play over on the Celtics roster? Like
who's saying that we should have kept Naismith? We got Malcolm Brogdon for him. He was the 6th man of the year. He got kind of injured down the stretch, but I'm not going to hold that against him. And then we were able to turn Malcolm Brogdon into Drew Holiday. I'd much rather have Drew Holiday than Naismith.
We're in agreement. I'm not arguing with you. It just feels on the broadcast they always seem to bring it up like, oh, Naismith wants to get revenge on the Celtics, and I understand all that, but it's also the Celtics kind of did the best thing for him possible. He would have never played in Boston. He's getting an opportunity to be the player he is now. He would have never gotten that in Boston. He could have been cut next year, and then who knows what. Never gets an opportunity. So I'm happy for them all, but it just feels like on the broadcast they're kind of just being like, oh, a whole lot of what ifs for the Celtics here, as if we went on to not be that successful or that was a real fork in the road of a decision to make here. I'm happy for him though. I don't want to make it sound like I'm not. Just it does feel like on the broadcast that they're jabbing at the Celtics a little bit for trading this guy who's then been successful against us for 2 nights out of this whole year. He's kicked our ass like every time we faced him. Or what other teams would you like to talk about? Porzingis is back.
I'm not concerned. I'm not scared of the Pacers.
Porzingis is back. We're back to being the better team now? We're not going to lose to Indiana on the road?
I'm not saying that we're never going to lose like another game again, but I'm just saying if the season ended today and we had to play the Pacers in a 7-game series, that's not a uh-oh. Still Miami is at the top of that list despite all of their struggles. They would be like a much bigger concern than the Pacers would be.
I think you're underestimating the Pacers and the Lakers.
Well, if they're so good, they will move up in the rankings, and we'll talk about them even more if that's the case. I do have some games that I'm looking forward to watching this week, even though they're not in-season tournament games. They're regular season games that go towards this really big championship that's in June. People might have forgotten about it, but tomorrow, you might already mentioned it, Lakers at Mavericks. Just interested to see. All right, Lakers won this tournament. Now it's going in, but going at the Mavericks. Going against Luka, just kind of seeing like what sort of juice do they have? Is there a little bit of a in-season championship hangover? This is all new territory, so I'm interested there. Then on Wednesday, Pacers at Bucks. So all right, little revenge factor. Kind of see. All right, now I'm interested to see how the Bucks react and to see just kind of how their fans, if they got a little extra since this is the team that just knocked their team out. And then my third one. Magic number 2 in the East right now, coming to Boston, and they have beat us. What is it? 5 times in a row? And I'm just wondering. Okay, Friday night in Boston, we get a good crowd on Friday night, and I think especially with that last in-season pool game, or it wasn't the last one, but the second to last one where the Magic beat us, and I think the Magic want to continue to beat us after an Eddie House comment that seemed pretty small, but if that's what motivates them. So I just think, the 2 teams top of the East, I think see what the Celtics can pull off.
I'm excited for all those games. So some good talent out there. I can't believe you're just so against the tournament. All this is just so pro basketball. You're gonna be a little bitter about all this just because the Lakers won. Like this.
Yes, I definitely.
This is all just so pro basketball. This is all good things. It's like saying
How
you don't
is it
like.
good?
How is it good? It was fun. It was an extra thing. It made the regular season matter a little bit more, and we're crazy people and care about every regular season game, but majority of people don't. It's got a whole lot of attention. We got to get the Indiana Pacers on national TV more times than they've ever been. Like that's exciting that a team that is blatantly disrespected in the representation took power into their own hand and put themselves on TV. They were almost successful, but that wouldn't have happened without this regular season, without this in-season tournament. I like we're going to get all the attention in the world. I'm all for observing and watching every single Boston Celtics game possible. We're a good team. I just thought it was fun to highlight some of the other teams. Are there any other good teams you want to talk about, or is it just the Celtics, who honestly haven't even been that good the last couple of weeks? We've been all right. Porzingis coming back is definitely an improvement, but I thought the Pacers took that game away from us, and there's not a whole lot I can really say about it. The one thing I thought was weird was that the Lakers basically went bully ball against Indiana, and Indiana has no real bully to go back at him with, and yet Milwaukee didn't do that at all. Like, I'm shocked at how Davis was able to look so dominant, but Giannis wasn't able to get that done. Like, it just seems like everything was a little backwards and all that. I'm pro the tournament. I'm fine talking about the Celtics. Are there any other teams we could talk about?
You got anything on the Cavaliers? Because I'm pulling up the Celtics schedule, and in a weird quirk, we were playing the Cavaliers in Boston on Tuesday, and then we were playing the Cavaliers in Boston on Thursday.
I did see that.
That's weird.
Some of these scheduling, it's I can't explain it. I know that they wanted to make them a little bit more like some baseball outings where the team doesn't have to travel as much, so you kind of get your 2 games out in the East, you're done, and then bounce back somewhere else. I'm not sure. I like doing it though. I'm not scared of the Cavs. It's really my opinion of it. I think it's just a matter of time for Donovan Mitchell leaves. I don't think Mobley's made the improvements they were hoping on. I think Strus has been a success there, but it's also kind of ridiculous how reliant they already are on Strus without like any of the improvements from last year. Just feels like he's just plugging a lot of the holes that they had, and it's not nearly enough. I'm not worried about them. I bring on the Cavaliers. I am much...
unfortunate news. Mitchell Robinson on the Knicks getting ankle surgery, and it will be reevaluated in 8 to 10 weeks. So that's unfortunate, because when you're getting reevaluated doesn't mean you're coming back. It means probably even longer after that. And I thought he'd been playing real well for the Knicks. I thought he was kind of moving away from just being this like super athlete, and was kind of understanding the defense a little bit more and not just kind of jumping for every pump fake. And there was just some really positive news that came out about him personally, and just really, really unfortunate for him.
Yeah, that stinks. I'm bummed about losing players, but I got good news. We got a good player who's coming back soon. That John Morant suspension, it's wrapping up real soon. And I know Memphis' season is done. It's shot to shambles. I can't even I just think if this guy is the player that we've seen in the past, I can't wait to watch him come in and fly and just take the league. Like he should be even extra motivated. I think he should be even extra spicy towards everyone else in the league. It's me against the world, John. Just let's see what you got. I'm kind of excited to see that. I know the team's not that great.
It is a little bit of him versus the world, because it's not just his suspension. They've got so many injuries over there.
It's an awful year for them. And it started with him, and I think that they originally wanted to blame him for it all, and they easily could have, but the second Steven Adams went out, and then Smart went out, and then they made the trade for Smart, and that is the return you got isn't there. Like that stinks. Jaren Jackson is just
Luke Kennard's hurt.
Jaren Jackson is just not the type of player
Brandon Clark,
you need to put that sort of weight load on. He's really good, but I don't think you need to be this reliant on him for scoring and playmaking. He should just be a defensive guy, and he's very good at that. It's hard to stretch him out to a whole lot more. They're in a tough spot, but I'm excited. Jock's coming back, right? Another good player that's going to be. Is
that this week or next week? I saw the headline saying that Adam Silver was going to meet with him personally, so I didn't know exactly what that meant, but I knew it was soon. But is it this week?
All right, so it could be the soonest he could play. I think is next Tuesday. So we will probably have next week's podcast and be talking about it. And Silver said in a press conference recently that he will be meeting with Ja this week, and he is unaware if Ja has completed whatever he has a checklist of approval that he has to go by.
That's right. Yeah.
So
it did, and is that still standing? Because I seem to remember when that initially came out, the first gut reaction was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then I remember the the Players Association kind of pushing back, saying, "Well, wait a minute. What do you mean he's got to like hit a checklist of goals? Like other players don't have to do that. That's not fair." So I never didn't really remember how that got hashed out.
I'm not even sure how much Silver is even in charge of all that, because he even said, to my knowledge, I'll have to check on his whatever checklist or to-do list or their expectations for him. He didn't even comment on whether it had been completed or incompleted. He said, to his knowledge, that's what we're waiting on. And so like, I don't even know if it's the team who's like, maybe they're the ones being like, all right, this is kind of what we want to happen here, and it might not even be as strict as it sounds. It's just that they're asking for something for him in to just gain that trust back. And I don't know what it is. I doubt we'll ever find out what it is, but that is the only reason I don't think he'll be back next week. So unless that, and that'll be a story of its own, but I do imagine he'll be playing very, very soon, and that'll be fun to have. He's going to be dunking on someone real soon before you even know it.
That'll be good. Yeah, that's a good positive story of a guy that's good at basketball, should still be good at basketball, because it was just because of the suspension. He's not coming off an injury, so I'm assuming he's working hard, so should come back. And there's obviously probably going to be a little bit of rust, but shouldn't take too long to shake that off. And that's going to be fun for highlights.
Yeah. Any other basketball talk you want to get to?
No, I think that's a lot of basketball. It'll be interesting with a full week. Just kind of see where everything kind of shakes out after this in-season tournament as we kind of set our eyes for Christmas.
It's still a ways away. Like I feel like I was expecting this tournament to be over, like half the season would be on. They really auto-branded the in-season tournament with the mid-season tournament. Like I was told it was gonna be a mid-season tournament and that it was gonna happen closer to the middle, and I can't get that out of my mind. Like I thought it would be way closer to the season being over, when the reality is we're in the second week of December here, and there's so much regular season left.
It was almost more at the beginning of the year tournament.
It very, very much was, which is fine. I don't mind kicking it all off like that. All right, in other news, while we do a quick little outro here, Ohtani, he signed a $700 million contract with the Dodgers. I can't even say it without it sounding ridiculous. Like, it just sounds like some company bought something for a ridiculous amount of money, because that is the only size number you ever see that related to. A player, 10 years, $700 million. Will we ever see anything like this again, or is this just where we're going with this? I don't know where to fall. It's like literally almost $500,000 more than like the next guy. It's insane. I think it's deserving. I think it's justified. I think you'd make the argument for it. But man, that is so much money. And I can't believe it's going to LA. We're not baseball guys, but damn. What else can you say to this?
It really is. It's a huge number. He's such a unique player where there's times where he's leading, the league in strikeouts as a pitcher and leading the league in home runs. So either way is all right. That player's going to get a lot of money with the MLB doesn't have a salary cap. They just have the luxury tax. But yeah. $70 million a year. I mean, we will see it. Just that's the way inflation works, and as we go along, there's gonna be more money in sports. So eventually, other things will, catch up. But just wild that he's gonna make pretty much like twice as much as Jalen, and Jalen's the highest paid guy in the NBA, and it's not even more; it's double. So, a lot of money. Kudos to him. He's I believe he's getting Tommy John surgery, so he's not even gonna be able to pitch until 2025. I think he will still be able to hit, which is still what most players are able to do. You either can pitch or can hit, so it's still worthwhile. But yeah, glad to see him off of the Angels, because it makes no sense how the Angels can have two generational players and just be terrible for years and years and years. So yeah, get him out of there, get him on TV, let people know about him.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. It would be nice to see him to be in a game that actually matters, or at least make the playoffs. I mean, we've never seen a guy like him be in that situation. So that should be what he's trying to do. And I guess I'm happy for him for getting the money, and that's as close to home as he's going to get. So Toronto, I know that was flirting around there for quite some time, and I just didn't see the rumor logistically where he wasn't that in love with this country and was very interested in being able to travel back. I don't know. Good for him. We'll see where that goes forward. Don't expect a whole lot of baseball talk from us going forward, but what can we do? What you can do, though, is subscribe and follow us, Little Column A, Little Column B podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe, as well as you can follow Zach on his X account, which is
Wicked Z-Man 24.
Follow us on there. March Madness is around the corner. More bets and more embarrassing stuff happening to me soon. We'll have the shirtless consequence, the shirtless ski. I don't know what do we even call that. Shirtless ski run, something like that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Working on that. Coming up soon. Getting cold. Thank you as always for listening. We'll be back next week.
Little column A, little column B.